Hello, everyone from Nova Scotia. If you can hear me, please let me know in the comments because this time I am trying the good old use my earphones plugged into my laptop, which I really hope makes this much easier for everyone to hear. So if you can hear me right now, just let me know. Mm. Joseph, I see you're in Manta. That's amazing. Returning to Cuenca on January 2nd. So after the holidays, I hope in Manta you actually participate in some of the I'm going to find this for you. If you participate in some of the activities for New Year's in, I'm not sure. I'm going to attach this for you. I have a post. I spent New Year's in Cuenca in 2010, and they have some really interesting traditions. And one of them is actually jumping over fire. So I've just attached a blog post for you there. I have video of me jumping over it. I should try to post that. But I think it's in the blog post. But they have some really interesting traditions. And I would say Christmas, I don't know what Christmas will be like in Manta. I'm sure it'll be great. It'll be lots of seafood. But New Year's, I would think they have the same kind of thing. Just be prepared for lots of fireworks. Let's see who else we have here. Kristen and Mark, thank you so much. I hope you guys are feeling well right now and you have some water today. Reese, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad that we were able to work at that time difference. I don't know why it said that it was 8 p.m. at night. On my end in Nova Scotia, because Nova Scotia is not Eastern time, it's Atlantic time. I was getting the right time, so I was a bit confused as to why you are not. And then we've got my mother, Carmi Brogan. She's in the living room. Guys, I am home for Christmas. This room is what we used to call the playroom. It's a full house right now. So this is my bedroom for the moment, but good old Canadian wood. And we have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old who are now watching YouTube right now, trying to be very quiet. I've learned so much about YouTube for kids, and it's really the production value and everything that goes into that is really crazy. I think so much more difficult. It's like the shows that they put on for kids are full on acting and sets. And really, I think if you want to kind of get into the world of creating a kids show, you don't even need a TV program anymore. It's great. Oh, everybody can hear me. Fantastic. Vicky Sullivan from Oregon. Let me know how the weather is there. It's raining here on the East Coast, on the Atlantic Ocean. I'm guessing it's probably there too. So right now in Nova Scotia, it is 3 Celsius, 37 Fahrenheit. I think that's it. And very lucky there's no snow. A lot of people want to come home for Christmas and they want to see that white powdery snow. That is not me whatsoever. Kristen, you still don't have water. Oh, you have water today. Oh, so good to hear. DK, I hope you are there with Donna. If you are, let me know. For everyone, DK is part of my Patreon program. And then a few, I guess for Day of the Dead, actually, Andreas and I held a tour together. It was actually, he held a tour. It was originally for me, and then we brought everyone along. And so I got to meet DK and Donna, and we had so much fun. It was really, really nice. It made me think maybe we should actually do something more formal, maybe, and do another tour. But I don't know what that tour would be. I mean, the day tour was nice. I don't have any experience with anything like that, but you never know. In the future, it might be something that Andreas and I do because we do get to do a lot of um, these tours that we do together, these road trips. And so I don't know if he would be interested in doing something like that, but I actually found it was so nice to have people that watch the channel kind of knew us, and then we didn't even know them. I didn't even know if DK was a man or a woman. Then I met her and Donna, and oh my goodness, it was so much fun. I really had a great time. Probably, I didn't shoot a video about it, but better than if I had shot a video. Michael, yes, I made it home. It was great. It was a long trip, but I feel like all of my trips have been really long. So actually, to give everyone some background, because I haven't been in Ecuador for a while. So in September, I went to I went to Indonesia for 7 weeks, and then I flew from Indonesia to Ecuador, and that was over 60 hours of travel. It was, I never want to do that again. It was really, really crazy. And so coming home to Canada was 28 hours just because of the way we live on the East Coast and the way that it works to get flights to Canada. I flew out at 1 a.m. and then I didn't get into Halifax until like 10 p.m. the next night. It was long. It was really long. I don't Living in Halifax, I mean, it's gorgeous here, but one of the tough things is it's not like a hub, so you always have to come through somewhere else. And so I had a lot of long layovers. Anyway, I'm here, so I've got a coffee. I am feeling good. Uh, Hello from an Ecuadorian girl born in Spain. Hello, thank you so much for joining. It must be like I think it's 9 p.m. your time, so thank you so much for coming here. And Michael from Seattle, so good to see you. Mickey, raining, also a PCer from, yeah, familiar with Lunenburg. Oh, that's awesome. And Donna's here too. Hi, Donna. I'm gonna have to tell Andreas that we're here. He is actually busy right now, so he couldn't join. But it's good to hear that he's busy. So that's amazing. Both tours are great. Do it again. I actually had a lot of fun. And so we did two tours back in October. Oh my goodness, like months to me right now. But in October we did one that was Day of the Dead, and then we did one the next day which was Lord of the Weather. In the end, actually, the town that we were going to, because it was a village, it turned out it wasn't happening at all. And so Andreas was really great on the spot, kind of showed some other things, and I thought it was really interesting, and it was just really nice, to be honest, to be in a group of people that just really loved to learn as much as I did. I think maybe you, Donna and DK, you can attest to this, but everyone was shocked at how much Andreas speaks. And so I felt really bad about that. He does talk, and he talks too much, actually. And so the reason I don't feature him as much in videos is because he loves to share like everything with you because he knows so much. I've never been with a guy that has such a vast wealth of knowledge that you can say like, what is this tree, what is this, what is this, and he knows all these things. He's not making it up. But to put that on video is really, really long. He likes to share everything, and I'm like, no, we have to keep people interested. So the reason people think I know so much about Ecuador is because he shares all these things with me, and then I distill it down to one or two sentences and I share it with you. So I think people thought he was more shy, but really it's because I edit him. He does actually really talk a lot. He's very funny. And so I feel kind of bad. He really needs his own channel. Kristen and Mark, looking forward to your Colombia videos. Curious how the food differs from Ecuador. Was it spicier? Dishes the same, but made with traditional, different ingredients? Yes. Andreas really needs his own. He's actually really, really funny. So I'll tell you why. DK and Donna know this. He's a huge fan of South Park. And so when I met him back in 2010, his English was good, but a lot of Ecuadorians learn English from other Ecuadorians. And so they learn things technically, very similar to us. When we learn Spanish, like we learn like the proper verbs and things, but we don't kind of learn things on the street. So when I met him, I actually introduced him to like South Park and Tosh.0, which probably no longer really something you should be sharing with people. But he learned a lot of popular culture. So his English now and all of the things that he watches on TV is English. And he spends a lot of time in the United States. And so his humor and the things that he knows is very much pop culture, even more than me. He makes fun of me now because I don't know South Park references. I grew up from that, no longer watching it. But yeah, he needs his own channel. So I flew from, just to give everyone some background about this and why I went to Colombia, because a lot of people had so many questions. So I flew to Ecuador, we did those tours, and then the next, like we left that night. And then we went to Latacunga. If you have not seen my Latacunga video, it is like a suburb outside of Quito. Everyone says there's nothing to do there. A lot of people use Latacunga as a place to stay before they go to Quilatoa and they do the loop, or they go to Cotopaxi. But actually, I loved Latacunga. I ended up going in the end, I think we went like 3 or 4 times and spent in total maybe 7 to 10 days there. There's so much traditional food. It's a really lovely city. It's a small city. I would say looks the center is flat and kind of looks similar to Cuenca. Not as pretty as Cuenca. I mean, Cuenca is the prettiest, but it's really, really pretty. We went there for Mama Negra. And so I had wanted to go there for years. Mama Negra is a very interesting holiday that where Ecuadorians wear blackface. And so I had to go because I just thought it's so inappropriate. I talk about it in the Latacunga video, but actually, the way they celebrate it is so much fun. And it's actually to highlight and give thanks to the people who were the indigenous people and also the Afro-Colombians. And this is what this blackface represents, those people who really built the country. And so it's very interesting. But if you've spent any time at all in Latin America, you know race is treated very differently. And so the other thing is Mama Negra is always a man, and it's always given to someone who um, is supposed to be someone that was important that year. So it's one of those things that you have to really experience for yourself. It's the same time of year as Cuenca Independence Day. So if you ever have a moment, a time that maybe you're going to be near Quito, you should absolutely do this. We had a blast. I shot a lot of video, but towards the end, we had drank a lot because they give you a lot of alcohol. It's part of the celebration is these people who are characters in Mama Negra come by and they give you alcohol. And so I didn't really feel like I wanted to be on camera towards the end. Well, I am on camera, but I can't show you guys. So maybe Patreon members, I will put that video together for you. Please don't judge me. I had a lot of alcohol that day. So back to what we did next. So when I was in Indonesia, this is a long story. When I was in Indonesia, I was on the back of a motorbike and my passport got wet. So all of the stamps were watercolors. Thankfully, the photo page was not, but the way passports work now is there's a chip in them, so water can damage them. I was lucky I was able to get to Ecuador. However, at every immigration stop, I was told, you really got to fix that passport. And so I was going to do it in Ecuador, but I had a couple people tell me, actually, you should go to Colombia because the embassy there is bigger. And so I have had experience with the Canadian embassy in Quito when I got the digital nomad visa. They were fantastic. But I thought, okay, if everybody's telling me this, then maybe I should just go to Colombia and I'll get it done faster. No, it was actually a horrible experience. They were very mean to me. I'm actually going to file a complaint about it, but I got my passport. So I spent all the time that I was supposed to be in Ecuador in Colombia, sadly. So I won't have any Ecuador videos coming out unless I take some old footage and make compilation videos, which I have thought about doing, but I'm not going to quite do it yet. And so I went to Colombia. I was there 12 years ago in 2010, and I loved it. I sailed from Panama to Colombia, and then I traveled from the north down to the south before going to Ecuador. And I think I spent a total of 3 months there. It was great. 2010, I didn't have a cell phone. It was just a different time of travel. My Spanish wasn't as good. I've talked to some friends about it. I don't know if Colombia feels more dangerous now, or maybe I was more naive then. It probably is a combination of the two. But to be honest, I was a little bit nervous about coming to Colombia because I'm now shooting videos. So I thought, how am I going to do this? I'm by myself. I haven't been here for a while. Like, how am I going to walk around the streets with a camera and not worry about getting robbed? And so, spoiler alert, I didn't get robbed, but I was very careful. And so when I think about the difference between Colombia and Ecuador, I would say I was definitely more on edge in Colombia, and I feel like I was safer or was always like aware. Now, that's for two reasons also. One, because I know Ecuador so well. And also, I was alone. So when I'm in other cities, I have Andreas, he's a local. We don't go places that we're not supposed to go. In Colombia, there were neighborhoods and things that I wasn't really sure. So I was always asking, police and hotel staff. And, I was just really careful that way. So in the end, I think when I compare the safety of the two countries, I definitely feel more secure in Ecuador, but, certainly I would say Bogota felt very much like Quito. When you're in Quito, you really do need to be careful. And so Bogota is a gigantic city. It's like New York. Like if you want to go see something, you have to stay in that neighborhood. Otherwise, you're going to be in an Uber for hours trying to get to where you need to be. So it's a giant, giant city. Um, but I would compare the 2 capitals as the same. I didn't have problems in either, but I think a lot of people go to Ecuador and actually they get robbed in Quito. And that's because they're in the colonial center and they usually stay overnight there, which I do not recommend. Um, and they're not really careful with their things. So safety wise, I would say that was the same. And then if we look at the coast, I would actually say the coast of Colombia is probably similar to the coast of Ecuador in that yes, you do need to be careful with your things. I see a comment. You look very healthy. Would you say it was because of the types of food you ate while in Indonesia? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I would say in Colombia I walked a lot more. In Ecuador, I didn't walk a lot because Andreas has a car. So, uh, in Colombia, I pretty much walked everywhere. And then also in Bogota, I walked a lot of places. Bogota has Uber, but it's on the weekends or if it's raining, you're just not going to get one. So there were a lot of times where if something was an hour away, I would just walk. So maybe it's a little bit of that. Maybe it's a little bit of being home. Maybe it's a little bit because I have some coconut rum in my coffee, if I want to be 100% honest. I think it's probably a lot of things. Alexander, hola. ¿Dónde estás en Ecuador? So I would say those two things are the same. So when I look, in the end, I think I spent a month or maybe even closer to 5 weeks in Colombia. I spent a week in Bogota. And then I went and I took, because I didn't have a passport, I had to take a bus from Bogota to Santa Marta, which was on the coast. And then I explored the coast and I came back down to Bogota for the last week. So I spent 3 weeks along the coast. One of the biggest differences I would say from Ecuador to Colombia is so big. I mean, Ecuador, you can cross the country in a day and it's fine. Even to go from Quito to Cuenca on bus, I've done so many times. So many times. It's about 8 hours, maybe 10 hours if you take the bus. Um, but you get from Quito to Cuenca. I mean, there are not a lot of really long trips in Ecuador. Because I had handed in my passport, I could not fly within Colombia. So I took a 24-hour bus from Bogota to the coast. It wasn't as bad as I thought, but flights within Colombia are pretty cheap. And so I think I took the bus for 24 hours and it was like luxury. Like they have two different floors. There's the first floor and they have these big, like first class seats. There's a TV on the front, but it's freezing. You have to bring like a winter coat with you. Everybody comes with a flannel blanket. Um, so by the time you kind of eat, you go to sleep and you wake up, you're there. So I don't want to complain about that. But to fly, so if it was $28 to take the bus, I think to fly it was 50. So and under an hour. So you really from Bogota or Medellin, it's really easy to get all around the country. Let me see. La de Encebollado. Oh, that's amazing. Greece, I have not been there yet. It was on my list. And so when I got to Bogota, it's rainy season right now, and Bogota, it was really actually fascinating to see. It was rainy season, and almost all of the country was experiencing mudslides and rain and flooding and rivers overflowing. And Bogota was cold and rainy and horrible. Now, I know a lot of people talk about Cuenca and Quito, the altitude, the rain. Quito actually doesn't get as much rain, but they talk about, the cold and rain in Cuenca. It was nothing compared to Bogota. I was Miserable. And so that's why I took the 24-hour ride to the coast. It was horrible. I really wanted to go to the coffee region because in those cities, they or I should call them villages, there are a lot of traditional drinks and things that you can't get anywhere else. But I could not bear to be in the rain anymore. It was so depressing. And then in Bogota, in when I got there at the start of November, it was so rainy. It was just rainy all the time. I don't want to shoot videos in the rain. I was cold, it was rainy. It was a very low point. It was a very low week. I don't think I really talked to anyone because I was having a terrible time. And so then I went to the coast. The coast was sunny and gorgeous every single day. The coast of Colombia, there are two coasts. So you've got the Caribbean coast and then you've got the Pacific. The Caribbean coast is the Caribbean. It is gorgeous. It is these videos I can't wait to show you because even if you choose that you want to travel to Ecuador or you want to live in Ecuador, the Caribbean is not that far away from you and the flights are not that expensive. The beaches are gorgeous. The food is great. I would say the culture was similar to Esmeraldas. I wanted to go back to Esmeraldas this year, but right now it's not safe. Um, but it was everything I loved about Esmeraldas, but better. There is no beach in Ecuador really that looks like the Caribbean of Colombia. It was amazing. And then you've got there the style of food there is different from the Pacific coast, which they call it of Colombia. And that would be similar, more similar to what we see along the Ecuadorian coast. Let me just catch up on some of these comments. You love the weather in Manta, but you miss Cuenca. Joseph. Yeah, I totally get that. And so, over the last 18 months, you've seen me like be based in Cuenca, but then we do these road trips to the coast. And one of the things that I love about Cuenca is that you can be there and be based there, but there's actually a bus that will go directly from Cuenca to Olon. And so I think that might be an 8-hour trip or less, but it's direct. And so you kind of don't really have to choose between the two. You can spend time in each place. And I find when I spend a lot of time on the coast, then I miss the amenities of the Andes. I mean, the coast is so beautiful and has the sun, but the lifestyle in the Andes feels more, well, you just got more. You just have more amenities in the Andes. What food from Ecuador captivated you, and would you like to make the recipe and eat it again? Oh, okay. I'll tell you this. The thing that I missed the most in Colombia was the ají. Along the coast in the Caribbean, a lot of the food is fried. It's just fried plantain, fried yuca, fried potato, fried fish, fried chicken, which is fine. I mean, I don't like to eat that all the time, but you do get tired of fried food. And then it just needs ají. It just needs something to cut it. So I missed the incretito from the coast. I didn't get that till the very end, where I went to the first free Black community in Colombia. That was the first time I saw it. I saw tons of bottled ají. I really, really missed it. Now they do have some in the Andes. It's not similar to Ecuador, but it's just not the same. Like I love my ají. Like how much would I talk about it in Ecuador? But I was just like, what's happening here? Is there any sauce? I was always asking for salsa. So I would say that actually I missed the most, which is just a sauce. But I mean, I love all of the food from Ecuador and I did really miss it. So when I look at the food, when you compare the coast, yeah, there are different foods. It feels similar. It's a similar kind of thing. You're going to get completely different dishes other than the fried fish, but there's no like bolon de verde. You do have patacones. Kristen, I know you don't like any of that plantain stuff, so I'm not going to bore you with all of that. But similar idea. You're using local foods. Um, when you really get into the Afro-Colombian, it really looks a lot more like Esmeraldas, and it's delicious. It's like coconut based, and you've got stews, and oh, it's just that part was really, really wonderful. And then they also have this sauce called suero, and it's kind of like sour cream and a cream cheese mixed together. They call it sour cream, but it doesn't remind me. It's not quite that at all. It is served with a lot of things, and that fermented sourness does cut through, but not enough. In the Andes, everything is very meat heavy. This is, again, not somewhere where you're gonna see a lot of fish, or no, sorry, a lot of vegetables. Um, in the Andes, just a lot of meat, big portions. You've got that bandeja paisa, which is like if you took a traditional English breakfast and made it more meat, more starch, just more types of meat and sausages and beans and all these things. That's what that would be. So I would say more meat. Ecuador seems to have a little bit more reasonable portions. And it's funny because Colombians are not big people, like they're not fat. They just really like meat. Um, Let me just catch up on a couple of things here. Have you used the bus on the Amazon side of Ecuador? I have not. Um, but I don't see why the Amazon side would be a problem, Michael. We can talk offline about that. I can certainly ask Andreas about it, but I have taken the bus pretty much all around Ecuador. They drive like maniacs. My general advice is to take the shorter buses. Like if you can go from town to town, and don't go at night. So the problem is they drive too fast, and they get tired, or they're on their phone. So I think in some cases, like the Andes, when you go from Quito to Cuenca, you're on the trans. What is the highway called? The America's Highway. Well, you're on that, so it's no problem at all. Where I start to get nervous is, the mountains and things that they have to go around. Um, but I would say there are a lot of accidents, but not as many as you would expect for how many people take the bus. But if you're looking for something, please reach out to me. I can certainly ask Andreas if he has some suggestions, if you have specific places that you want to go. You have to go to Monpiche there to see the howler monkeys and Isla Portete. Isla Portete, which is right beside Monpiche, is probably the closest that you would get to the Caribbean in Ecuador. But I love Ecuador. I really do. I love going to the beaches there, but the beaches they're nothing special. They're beaches. But that is what you get on the Pacific. The Pacific coast of the Americas is not as nice as the Atlantic side, the Caribbean side for beaches, and that's just how it is. Veronica, hello from North Carolina. Thank you so much for joining. Kristen, if they have ají in a restaurant, it must be on the table before I start eating my soup. So I agree. Like if they don't have ají, if they in Ecuador, if they don't have ají on the table, I ask. If they bring me a bottle and I haven't ordered yet, I don't want to really eat there. So I really believe that if you make your own ají, you really care about the food. You're going into like a real traditional restaurant in Ecuador. And so on the coast, they do use the bottled stuff more, but also the incurtido there is fantastic. So if I see that they've got incurtido on the table, which is the pickled vegetables that are spicy and that cuts through that fried coastal food, then they kind of take it a little bit more seriously than just hot sauce. I mean, there were times in Colombia I saw Tabasco. Like, no, I don't want that. Um, how were the arepas? The arepas were good. They're corn based. The first video that I'm sharing is actually from Bogota, where I walked just all around the city and ate at different places. And the place that I ate in Bogota to have arepas first was featured on Netflix, the um, street food Bogota section, and it was fantastic. So all of the food that I had in the market there were really great. And if you have Netflix and you want to watch something that will just tear at your heart, watch Street Food Latin America, the Bogota episode, because they talk about this market that was kind of outside the city. And like Bogota, like other cities in Latin America, it really brings in people from all over, like in the campo, who are looking for a better place in life. And so they share the food, but actually they share the stories of the women at the market. And when I saw one of the women, I was like, oh, I felt like that's not starstruck, but I had heard such just a tough story of her life. All of those women are still there. They're all still cooking. Um, and this market has now become famous. And it was famous before Netflix, but it was just really touching and meant so much more that in this video that I'm sharing from Bogota, I do go to a couple of the places that were featured in Netflix. But I also go to other places because all of these people are from around the country and they all have these stories and it's really beautiful. It was just a really fantastic market. I would say that was definitely one of my highlights. Um so some people have said that spicy peppers are hard to find in Ecuador. You talk about ají. How is this? So Ecuadorians don't typically like spicy food. No one in South America likes spicy food except for Peruvians. Just like no one in Central America and North America likes spicy food in the Latino culture except for Mexicans. Everything else is like a medium flavor, unless you go to the coast. For some reason, I don't know why, but coastal ají is hotter. And then sometimes you get surprised. I mean, I feel like I've had so many videos where I show you the me eating ají and it's hotter. So those peppers do exist, but a lot of times they'll cut out the veins and the seeds to make it more palatable to a general audience. So I think in Cotacachi, yeah, Cotacachi, I went there and she told me her ají was as spicy as her personality, and it was spicy. So it's a little bit of a, it is spicy. Colombia, no. Colombians do not like spicy food. Argentinians really don't like spicy food. I think it's like well, I don't know if it's the Andes or what, but in South America, it's not easy. It's not the default to get spice. So even their hot sauce wasn't spicy. Maybe that's why they serve Tabasco, but that would be like the spiciest that you would get there. Oh, and sorry, Kristen, the arepas. The arepas are great, but I don't feel like I appreciate them. So I went there where she buys the corn, she processes the whole thing. She makes these arepas. It's like you can taste the corn. It's beautiful, but I don't really have the palate for like corn. Yeah, it was good, but I just don't feel like I appreciate it like somebody else would. They use arepas like we use bread. I did not like the fried ones. All of the fried ones that I had, I just felt like, oh, I'm so tired of fried food. I did grow a little bit tired of some of the food, and that is simply because I didn't travel. You know, it's such a big country, and so because I spent so much time on the coast, and in the same place I was in places where a lot of the food was fried, and then also in Bogota, not as much as the food is fried, but also it's like that's where you would get those big meat plates, and I was like, I just want like sushi or salad or a big plate of vegetables. So I do feel that way sometimes though in Ecuador as well. But I think that's where coming into play when you're in Cuenca, there's such a diversity and so many people who are vegetarian, and so there are options to get more like vegetable based meals there. Ambrose, I'm taking a bus to Guayaquil and flying direct to Cuenca. I didn't know there were direct flights from Guayaquil to Cuenca. I didn't know there was either. I actually thought you had to go through Quito. I think that might be new. I have only ever taken like land transport from Guayaquil to Cuenca because it's 4 hours and you get to go through Cajas. Um, but I don't, if you're coming from Manta, you could just stop off in Alone and take the direct bus from Alone to Cuenca, which would be much better, and then you wouldn't have to go into Guayaquil. That's just a thought. I don't know if you're locked into your flights. And so Reese, yeah, I would say to answer you after a very long diatribe there, um, spiciness is the exception. You will be surprised by spice, but you can definitely get those hot peppers. Don't worry about it. And I know you're going to Cuenca and just ask around. There are people who have hot peppers there for you. Netflix street food is a favorite. I would have been starstruck too. Honestly, this woman had just this terrible, like not a terrible story. She had just a story of how she overcome her life and is now kind of the heart of this market. And so she wasn't cooking. Other people were prepping for her, but she was still there. And so I was like, oh my God, I know who you are. And Reese, yes, peppers can be found on the market. If you go to Diez Augusto, yes, absolutely. You just need to talk to the right person and ask if they're spicy. So it might take you a couple tries to find the spicy because their impression of spice will be different from yours. But there's definitely spicy peppers there because I have spicy ají in Cuenca. So you touched a little on the coast in Colombia. Kristen, thank you so much for keeping me focused here. Are there any resorts that you visited? No. I am not a resort person. I went to the beach and I stayed on the beach, but I always stay in independent places. There are lots of independent spots that you can stay on. In Colombia, all of the all-inclusives are actually I don't think on the Colombian coast, but they do have some off the Colombian coast. I can't remember what that town is called, but they have a lot of islands off the coast of Colombia where you can do that. But I would say it's probably just cheaper to stay at a hotel. Like I stayed at a place that was $10 a night. But if you that was like in a dorm. I tried to save some money because flying to Colombia, that was an unexpected expense. But I stayed in a $10 dorm where I was the only person in the dorm and it was fine. Um, but I would say Colombia wasn't as affordable as I thought it would be. The economy is not doing well, but I went to touristy places. So I was in Bogota, so of course that's going to be expensive. And then I went to Cartagena, which is a tourist trap. So that's going to be very expensive. And then I went to Santa Marta, which was my favorite. That was very reasonable. And then on the coast, you can also go to beaches. So maybe you don't get a resort, but you could get a nice hotel. Yeah, your arepas in Quito would, yeah, they would have ají. Otherwise, you're just eating like a maize pancake type thing. So they do things with it, like, but they also just eat it like bread. And so it's like saying to someone, "What do you think about the bread in Ecuador?" I'm like, "Well, if I had a roll, it would just be fine." They have fantastic yuca rolls. They have fantastic cheese rolls. They actually have really great bakeries. There are a lot of bakeries in Ecuador that are Colombian bakeries because Colombians are fantastic bakers. I would actually say, oh, I don't want to say this. I don't know if Colombians have better bread than Ecuador. On the whole, I would say yes. The place that I go to in Cuenca is fantastic. Ambato is known for bread, but I would say on the whole, Ecuador doesn't have like really great bread. You kind of have to know where to go to get the really good stuff. What international foods are popular to locals? Tanya, do you want to know that about Colombia or Ecuador? I would say in both cases, like Quito, Bogota, Cuenca, um, actually everywhere I went. Italian, very popular. Sushi, popular. Like Colombia is a very it's only recent that their economy, well, relatively recent that their economy has not been doing well. So a lot of Colombians have been to many other places. They have traveled a lot, and so they very much have international flavors. So I don't know if I saw McDonald's, but they love burgers. They have burger joints that are better than the burgers in Colombia are better than Ecuador for sure. Meat in Colombia is way better than in Ecuador. I've talked about this many times, but Ecuadorian beef is not great. Meat in general out of Colombia is better. In Ecuador, it's like you've got to find a good person to get meat from. I It's very rare that I eat beef in Ecuador because it's always a disappointment. Um, they have really good burger joints. They have their burgers have tons of sauces, so I don't know why they don't have more ají, but their burgers do have tons of sauces that you won't find in Ecuador. Um, but I would say like and they kinda have like a little bit of everything, you know? Colombians a lot of Colombians have been to the States, so you can get fried chicken, you can get burgers, you can get Italian, sushi, like kind of a little bit of everything, Chinese. You don't see as much Chinese as you do in Ecuador and Peru. So the idea of chifa, didn't really move up to Colombia. So I'm single woman, 50s, zero Spanish, looking for company offering. Oh, you're looking at a company offering a 12 to 19-day language school. Vicky, no, I wouldn't do it. If you're going to Ecuador, Ecuador has more English than Colombia. I know you're not looking at Colombia, but to give some people some reference there. In Ecuador, like if you're just looking to travel to Ecuador, or actually both, you're going to spend half your day in your language school. So I would say if you're 50 and you're coming to Ecuador because you think, oh, I want to see the place and maybe I would move there, just go. There's so much English in Ecuador. There are a lot of people. Kristen moved here without any English. So there are a lot of people. Sorry, Kristen moved here without any Spanish, with only English, and so I would say to get around, Ecuadorians are so comfortable with knowing that foreigners don't speak Spanish. And so they either a lot of people that you will encounter at bus stations, at restaurants, at all of these things, they usually know a little bit of English. And then those that don't, like they're very comfortable with trying to help you. And so I would just get Google Translate on your phone. So if this is your first trip, I would just say to you, like, enjoy Ecuador instead of trying to combine it. There are online YouTube, depending on how you learn. Like if you like YouTube, there's Spring Spanish. That's really good. There are a number of different like Spanish language that you could learn the basics. You can do Duolingo, but for just like a under 3 week trip, I would say just enjoy the place. And then if you want to learn more Spanish, you can. And you could, if you're planning to come here, you could always come back and just do like a homestay in one place. I also wouldn't stay in Quito. Quito is not my favorite place. Um, it's just a big city, and I don't really feel like I love to visit. I would never live there. So if you're looking to travel around, I would take a tour and just enjoy the tour. And anybody else, please weigh in on this. Yeah, Quito is just like it's also yeah, Quito is great for a couple of days. But I feel really bad about saying this because I do love visiting and I featured it in so many videos. But a couple of people have messaged me and they were going to stay there for a couple of weeks, and I dissuaded them and told them to go to Cuenca instead. And I feel like they were safer and they had a better experience because even from Cuenca, they were able to see so many things. Oh, Michael, they make good croissants. Who knew? I am shocked. I'm really shocked. Oh, Jim! Lebanese and Japanese and Guayaquil is popular. Lebanese is so popular. Actually, it's also really popular, as I just trashed Quito. They make fantastic shawarma in Quito. Better than anything I've had in Guayaquil. But yes, Lebanese is very, very popular. Good shawarma. Cuenca does not have good shawarma. Do not get any kind of kebabs or anything from Cuenca. I don't know how long that meat sits on that skewer, but I don't think it's safe, and they are basically just feeding drunk people at the end of the night. Singaporean food outside Medellin. Yeah, I don't think I've seen Singaporean or a lot of Asian in Ecuador. And I think that really speaks to Colombia having been really an international destination for so long, also being close to Brazil. Whereas I think Ecuador is more of an up and coming kind of country than Colombia. Although I would say Ecuador is an up and coming country to live. Colombia is becoming really hot. Last year, I noticed they were doing heavy advertising, talking about how it was so culturally rich on all of the podcasts. And I was getting a lot of Colombia ads. And I know because I work in travel media that a lot of people have featured Colombia as like the destination for 2023. So I guess all of that money that they paid media and advertising in 2022 is now paying off in 2023. I would say Colombia is not a good country if you're just visiting South America for the first time. Just in that it's large, not as much English, not as safe. I mean, obviously, I'm biased for Ecuador, but I do love Colombia so much. The people there are much friendlier. They're much more outgoing. Um, but I think it also would be very overwhelming for people for the first time because if they're very overwhelming and outgoing, and I was overwhelmed the first time I went there, um, and you don't speak Spanish, it's just harder. And you're like, what's happening with these people? Why are they inviting me to this place? Like, is it safe to go? Anyway, so that's just I still love Colombia. I would love to go back. I just saw a little, I 6 weeks was not 5 weeks was not enough. I would love to go back and do more because there are some really beautiful parts of the country. But just to kind of give my perspective, I think Ecuador, because it's smaller, it's just more manageable. It's smaller, there's more English. On the whole, it's safer. Um, Yeah. Okay. So, Michael, thank you so much for mentioning Ecuador expat journey. So, yeah, they do small group travels where you're managed. And so it's just enough. And then you can see a lot in 13 days. I think that that is great. You don't really need to know a lot of Spanish in the beginning. It's definitely not necessary um, in Ecuador. Oh, Joseph, Merry Christmas to you too. Robert found Ecuadorians went out of their way to help with my lack of Spanish. Like Ecuador just has this history since I think it was the early 90s of a lot of people coming in from Canada and the US and really embraced and welcomed them and welcomed expats. And so a lot of Ecuadorians also have relatives. I mean, if you talk to anyone, they will have a cousin, a brother, a mother, someone is in the States. And so there is definitely like a kinship that you get in Ecuador that you don't quite get in Colombia just because it's bigger. um, Out of the way there. Loved Quito. Was there a difference with littering? Oh my goodness. So much trash in Colombia. So much. I don't know why. They don't have garbage cans anywhere. It's really difficult. In Bogota, in the city center, in the colonial center, I actually wondered if it was a security issue because I did see sometimes people would tie garbage bags, not garbage bags, like big shopping bags on the corner so people could put their trash there. So much garbage. It was really appalling. It was just really bad. Kristen, but I would say this. I also find it in Ecuador. Like on the coast, tons of trash. People just throw it everywhere. In the Andes, people don't litter as much, except in certain smaller villages. But in general, on the whole, I just found like so much garbage all the time in Bogota. It was really, for me, very, very sad. Oh, Reese did a 6 weeks immersion in China. Not a great time. Reese, I do want to talk to you on the side because next year China could be on my list, but I need to find somewhere manageable to go. And I'm not taking an immersion program. So this will be crazy for me to just go somewhere where I don't read or speak the language. Um, Otavalo is the starting point. Thank you for your thoughts. Otavalo is amazing. Um, it's just a lot of, yeah. So as someone I travel all the time, and in a lot of places I don't speak the language. Like I did spend that time in Indonesia. Not being in a place and trying to learn the language at the same time is mentally exhausting. And so I would just say to you, I don't recommend that. Just take a small group tour. I mean, I think a lot of people in the group here are kind of saying the same thing. Learning a language is exhausting. And so by the time you're done with learning the language, you're not going to want to actually see things. And so Ecuador is beautiful. Otavalo is stunning. The north of Ecuador in the Andes is more beautiful in the south. I love Cuenca, but the views, and I know Andreas would agree with me here, the views in the south are nothing compared to the north. The north is stunning. Ah, Calvin from Salinas, hello. Thank you so much for joining. What would you say was my best experience I had in Colombia? And Kristen, thank you so much for being my interviewer here. My best experience definitely was in Cartagena. I did not want to go there. If you are one of my Patreon members, you know that one of the things I actually learned this year, once I left Ecuador, was that my strategy for YouTube is I love to go deep on like small places that I think are interesting and nobody knows about. Unfortunately, that does not do well in YouTube. So, because I invest so much time and energy and money into YouTube, I had to rethink my strategy. And basically, moving forward, and I did this in Colombia, was to pick big places, but to find the local side of them. So, I went to Cartagena. I have been there before. It's considered the jewel of South America or the jewel of the Caribbean. It's very touristy, very, very, very touristy. Like people are trying to sell you stuff all the time. You have to be very careful. Everyone gets their phone stolen. Like it is just like it's like a shark tank and you are the prey. Um, but the reason I went there was because I met a tour guide and he runs tours that fund his foundation that is dedicated to helping underprivileged children. And he helps underprivileged children on a number of things. So, nourishment, learning English, sport, and culture. And so he's doing really great things in his community. And so these tours do it. One of his tours is called the Real Cartagena. You get actually outside the city. He takes you to a Chinatown. No Chinese live there anymore. He takes you to a very local market on a Sunday, which is amazing. He takes you to Shakira's foundation school, which has an amazing view of the city. And then the last, oh, we go to his neighborhood, and you actually climb to this top of this hill where you meet all of these people who are basically squatting in wooden houses. The city wants to remove them because it's like prime condo land, like prime resort land. These people are from either other parts of Colombia, like the Campos, and they can't afford anything, or they're from Venezuela. And so this is the community that he helps with his foundation. And so you meet these people, and we talk a lot about just what it's like, because as we expats move to other places, we're forcing out a lot of people, and those people are poor. And so it was really fascinating, and it was the most rewarding. I'm so excited to feature this. I did 2 tours with him. That was the best part, because it really made me rethink Cartagena. You've got this very touristy colonial center, which is beautiful, gorgeous for pictures, but it's fake. And so every time people tell me they love Cartagena, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Even before I went, I was like, I know the type of people who love Cartagena. They don't want the real experience or to meet locals. It's kind of like when people go to Havana and they take a tour and they're like, oh, Cubans are so happy. And it's like, no, no, they're not. Um, so I really loved that. I think I that was like my best experience. I think it's the best experience of what I will share with you. So that was like, I don't know. I loved Colombia. I do think people should visit. I think if you live in Ecuador, definitely consider a visit there because it's so cheap to go. But there are just some things you should know. I also shot a safety video, which I am proud of, because you just need to be smarter. You need to be smarter. I think sometimes also when you're in Ecuador, you're like, oh, but everyone's so great. If you're not in Guayaquil, I mean, Jim would be on guard all the time. So he would be fine to go to Colombia. But I think, in places like Cuenca, or, some of the more expat heavy places, we can get complacent and we don't realize that, in 1 second, our phone or things could be gone, or you just always have to have an eye on your things. Oh, Kristen, thanks so much. DK, your Spanish is minimal. It's pretty good. Everyone in Cuenca uses Google Translate. You are right, they do. Google Translate, I even used it in Colombia a few times. Um, they didn't understand some things I was saying. It was very interesting. Along the coast, everyone said to me, first of all, I need to tell you a funny story. Everyone said to me I looked Colombian. A lot of people thought I was Colombian. And so that actually made me feel better about traveling. I would say when you're in Colombia, one of the safest things that you can do is not to wear jewelry, but also not to look like a bum. Colombians really take good care of themselves. And so, because I was shooting a lot, I was in dresses. I did wear sneakers with my dresses, which is very Latina to do. And also, I was walking on cobblestone, so I'm not wearing heels. But a lot of people thought I was Colombian for that reason. And so, I think a lot of people left me alone. The safety video I was shooting, the security guard actually came over to me and complimented me on my English and said it was almost perfect. And so I was very confused, and I realized he also thought I was Colombian. So I think fitting in is smart. And because Colombians, not like Ecuadorians, Colombians have a history of Germans, Spanish moving there. So Colombians don't all look Andean. Certainly, you have that Andean look. And then along the coast, you have the Afro Colombians. But a lot of places have blondes. Like anybody really could be Colombian. Not so much in Ecuador. Ecuadorians definitely have a certain look, which is either Andean, from an indigenous group, or mestizo. You are so food venturous. What do you do? What do you do about food safety? Maybe a video topic. Reese, that's a great topic. I pray for the best. Like, I eat something and I hope for the best. I do talk about food safety with ceviche on the beach. I went to a beach that was like a party beach, and people were eating ceviche at 4 p.m. I don't do that. I don't eat it after 11. But I have a really strong stomach, so I can probably stomach a lot more than other people can. But in videos moving forward, instead of my style in Ecuador, which was a lot of straight up guides, like here are 5 places to eat, or here are like 5 best ice creams, these videos moving forward, I hope will be more travel coming along with me and then me kind of speaking off the cuff, less prepared, and then but still food focused because that is what I will do. So you will see in Santa Marta, which is a city that a lot of nationals, a lot of Colombians go to, but not a lot of international people go to. My video there where I share food is actually just me walking around kind of talking. I think it will help share with people more of what a city looks like. But then also, to be honest, it's just true to what I do when I travel. I just walk around and I eat all day. So sometimes I see a museum and I think I should go in there. In Santa Marta, I was there for 10 days. The Gold Museum was, I don't know, like 2 doors down from me, and I never went in. I kept saying, "Oh, I'll do it my last day," and I never made it. And that's just because I'm just not interested in museums. But I did take a lot of footage of the streets, which I think is just more interesting. The fish market in Manta was amazing. Robert, did you get that sardine ceviche? That's all I have to know because that ceviche was the best I've ever had in Ecuador. Please let me know. What's your favorite country? Ecuador, Colombia, Indonesia? No, I loved Indonesia, but I don't know it as much as Ecuador. When I was in Colombia, I went coming home, I stopped in the Quito airport to fly home, and I was really sad. So I feel like Ecuador feels like home to me. It's like a second home. When I saw people's faces, like in the Quito airport, like the people from the communities outside, I just felt like it was really hard for me not to cry. So I don't think Indonesia I love, I'm going back to, but it's a new country for me. It's like family versus new friend. And then Colombia, the same thing. I was really sad to leave Colombia. Even though I'm warning you against a lot of things, I think Colombia is just one of those places like people are like, oh yeah, we should be afraid of it. No. Or we don't need to be afraid at all. No. It's like, yes, go, but treat it like Quito or even Guayaquil in some places. Like you can enjoy Guayaquil, but you got to be safe there. Um, Vivir. It's nice to see you live. I'm Colombian. You are right about our cultural background. Yeah. There were a lot of people I thought were gringos and they were Colombian. So I would just say like Colombia is different than Ecuador. It's right next to it. It's so different. I think for people who have now retired in Ecuador to go to Colombia would be great. There were just places that I really loved. It's just like a different culture. So I loved the coast for the same reason I loved Esmeraldas. In Esmeraldas, the Afro Ecuadorian culture is just very fascinating and so different. In Cartagena, actually, on those tours, I really thought about, when we're in South America and we're traveling, all of the history, all of the monuments are of the Spanish. And DK and Donna will know this because Andreas mentioned it. But when we talk about the liberation of South America, wasn't the true liberation because these independences that the countries gained, it was the new heads of the country were still Spanish, but they were Spanish born in South America. And so when we talk about the indigenous and the slaves, they still didn't have rights. And so, especially in Cartagena, all of these beautiful places and all of the names, and you'll see this throughout South America, they are all still Spanish born in South America. We are still not celebrating the indigenous and the Afro um, South American people who were forced to come here, who were kidnapped. And they are the people who built these countries. And so for me, that was my takeaway from Colombia, and it made me rethink everything. I mean, Andreas did give a little bit of that on our tour that DK and Donna talked about, but Colombia really has a greater influence of the Afro-Colombian community along the coast, and so I really felt that. Whereas I feel like in Ecuador, we missed that because Esmeraldas hasn't been safe, and so a lot of people haven't gone. They are not treated well by the Ecuadorian government. They do not have the infrastructure they need, and they don't have the tourism, and that's why they don't have the infrastructure. Whereas in Colombia, because there's so much tourism there, because it is the Caribbean, they have a bigger voice. And so for people who I don't know if anybody is interested in, those are also big expat places like Cartagena, Santa Marta. There are a lot of Americans moving there, and it's being compared to Miami. And I haven't really spent much time in Miami, but I think that might be an accurate reflection of what life would be like in terms of safety and the style of house that you would live in. It's a lot of condos that Ecuadorians or that expats are moving in to the coast of Colombia. All right. Yeah, me gringo Bob. Oh yeah. Yes. Robert, you could go to Colombia because Ecuadorians are small. Colombians are tall. Colombians are tall. They're beautiful people. As a woman, I always feel like a slouch there because Colombian women have like long hair. They're always done up in nice clothing. Like they take care of everything. And I'm like you can see right now, I haven't had a manicure in so long. Like Colombian women are definitely, yeah, they take it to the next level. But you would definitely fit in there. There are tall Colombians. What places did I visit in Colombia? So I went from Bogota to Santa Marta. I spent like almost 2 weeks there. And then I went to, from Santa Marta, I visited Taganga, which is a beach that I do recommend, but I don't recommend staying overnight there. A lot of people get robbed there. During the day, it's okay. There will be a video on that. I also visited Playa Cristal, which is considered one of the most beautiful beaches in Colombia. I've got a video on that, on how to do it. It was fantastic. It is where the Caribbean meets the Sierra, the mountains. And so you get this beautiful like Caribbean blues, but then you're surrounded because it was rainy season, but dry in the Caribbean. You get these lush mountains. It was really beautiful. And then I went to Cartagena. I don't have any traditional video about Cartagena, the colonial section. It was so touristy. I have some footage from it. I did not like it. When I went there, the advice people gave me was actually not to take my phone out and shoot video, but to take my camera because cameras are hard to sell. But I have an iPhone and people will just take it and run. And I did talk to a lot of people who had their phones stolen. So if you can get a Canon Power Shot or something, that is a great thing to take pictures with because you are safer walking around with that. I just felt like a lot of things in Cartagena were manufactured for tourists versus, for example, Santa Marta. It is not as beautiful, but it does have a beautiful colonial section. But you are visiting where people live. Whereas in the colonial section, it's like, oh, tourists, like go here, go here, go here. But it's not like you're not visiting where people live except on that real tour of Cartagena. And then I went to Playa Blanca, which is the most popular day trip there, but I stayed overnight. Super touristy, but I actually ended up having a great time. And I have friends in Cuenca that are from Colombia. And right now I've been giving them advice on how to go see Playa Blanca properly and not get ripped off because a lot of people get ripped off. So I feel like my time in Colombia was like reconnecting with what I love about Colombians being so friendly, reconnecting with the fact that my Spanish is better than I thought it was. I spend so much time speaking to Andreas in English, like I forget that I actually know Spanish. Um, the food was great. I do feature a lot of food. The ají, I just wish there was more of it. And I feel like these videos are actually some of the best videos I've created. Definitely better than my Indonesia series, just because I was rediscovering Colombia. I was rediscovering traveling on my own. And I had a great time. But I also feel like a lot of the advice that I gave, because it was my first time there in 12 years, will be really helpful for other people who visit. Because I do talk about like how I shoot video by myself, things that I look out for. There are lots of police there. So I feel like I have some good tips for people who are going. In 2 weeks, I never ate at the same restaurant twice in Manta. I have to go back because there's so much food I missed. There's so much food in Ecuador. There's so much food in Manta. There's so much great seafood. Ecuador has fantastic seafood. I preferred the seafood in Ecuador over Colombia. I just felt that I think if I'd gone further down the Pacific, I would have seen more variety. I found where you live, you have a good mix of mainly Ecuadorians, some Venezuelans, a smaller population of Colombians, and even fewer North Americans, and a handful of Cubans. Love it here. Yeah, so there are a lot of Venezuelans in Colombia. There is a bit of a clash between Venezuelans and Colombians. So some people do it better than others. You know, it's just really unfortunate. Venezuelans are in like such a hard situation. But Colombians in all towns are not getting along with them well. And to be honest, I would say the same in Ecuador. I would say a lot of Cuencanos will say that if they see Venezuelans on the street, they walk on the other side. So it's not a good situation all around. I really do feel bad for them. Robert, you need to go back and try that sardine ceviche. Please tell me you had the encebollado. Um, Michael, thanks so much. We'll talk soon. Have a wonderful holiday. Oh, I've hit the 1 hour mark. Vivier, oh, Colombian from Cali. So Vivir, the first time I was there 12 years ago, I spent 2 months in Cali. So I basically just danced every night. I went to like Tintindale every night, had like street food burgers at 5 a.m., slept until noon the next day, and then like did it all again. I love Cali. I wanted to go back, but it was one of those places I just didn't because I couldn't fly. It just didn't make sense. I would love to go back. The last time I was in Cali, I can't remember the neighborhood I stayed at, but it was not the neighborhood where all the hostels are. Um, and it was really interesting. I would love to go back and do more. And I met people from Cali when I was in Santa Marta. People were so friendly. Cali for sure is like such an incredible experience, and the culture of Cali is so different from other cities in Colombia. I would, yeah, I would, I think it would be great. It's one of the places I would love to go back to. Um, oh, but you're planning on moving to the coast of Ecuador. Why Ecuador, not Colombia? Because beautiful beach town, but no good roads. Another one of the things I also noticed, so Ecuador has a good social program. So whether you love or hate Correa, he built a lot of roads and he built roads in poor areas and nobody did that. So when I visited in 2010, there were a lot of roads that were really bad in Ecuador. When I came back, a lot of things changed. Also, free healthcare, free education. You don't get that in Colombia. You just don't. And so if you're poor in Colombia, it's hard. Whereas if you're in poor in Ecuador, it's hard, but it's not as hard. Like you're not going to die in front of a hospital because you can't get in and you're poor. And so also the cycle of poverty, I think, because of school is harder. So I did notice poverty more, and then also it's just harder. Like the idea. I felt like the community aspect in some cities was different than Ecuador, which I feel like is a little bit more socialist. But then certainly, when I was in Cartagena and I did that real Cartagena tour, I could also see in some of the communities that is really turning around because they know that they can't depend on the government. So there are a lot of people in communities saying like, we're going to do it on our own. And so if anyone is going to Cartagena, please take this tour. I will have that video out in January. Tintin Day was gone. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. Maybe I won't go back to Cali. Oh, I loved that place. Oh, yes, I stayed in San Antonio. That's exactly where I stayed. Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. Final question. Okay, final question for everyone. And I wanted to say, so Indonesia videos are now done. In January, I will be sharing videos. In the rest of December, I'll be sharing videos only on Saturdays. So we have 2 Saturdays until the end of Christmas. So if you're sick of your family, you will be able to start seeing my Colombia videos starting this Saturday. So the first one will be it will be Bogota. So you'll see all of the food from there. I think it's just a really great representation of food in Colombia. And then the next one is that 24-hour bus ride to Santa Marta. Reese, sea urchin in Ecuador. I wrote you back. So technically, there is green sea urchin in Ecuador. And apparently, in Manabí, the fishermen do eat it. And but I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I've never seen it in any market. So if they're eating it, I think they're eating it in their homes. So in Mana B, if you go to the Manta market, you might be able to find it, but I would not count on sea urchin. I think they are fishing it and they're exporting it probably to Japan. If you find it, please tell me. What types of creatures have scared you the worst within housing walls and what country? Oh, in the Philippines, had flying cockroaches. I was in one town in the Philippines that had a flying cockroach. I'm not afraid of cockroaches anymore, having been in. If you're in a warm country, in a warm city, you're gonna have a cockroach. Flying cockroaches, especially in my face, are terrifying. You have had a snake, tree frogs, huge spiders. As long as they're not in the air and they're not in my bed, I'm okay with them. I Yeah, for the most part. All right, guys. I think that is it. Thank you so much for joining me. To be honest, I didn't know if anybody was going to join this live because it's been a long time since I had my last live and my last video about Ecuador. I really hope you stick around for Colombia. If the Colombia videos do well, I will come back and I will do more from Colombia when I come back for Ecuador. I don't know when it will be, to be honest, for Ecuador. I feel like um, I am planning to spend winter and spring in Asia. So I want to do Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand. What am I missing? I want to go to Pakistan and I want to go to India. That's seven. That's seven. So if I do one a month, there will be lots coming. I am going to change my video style a little bit. So even if you don't want to come here, I'm going to just share the adventure of what I see every day with you. I don't have any experience in these countries. And so you will be seeing things from me for the first time, making a lot of mistakes, eating things that I may not know what they are, but I will be using Google Translate. So I hope you enjoy them. Oh, Viviers, thank you so much. Oh, Papayan, I want to go there, the White City and the Coffee Triangle for sure. Ah, yeah. And Reese, yes, I have questions for you. Because if you think Chengdu is a good place, the nice thing about Indonesia is, and Asia, is you can fly to so many places. So it will be totally new for me. Maybe you don't want to retire there, but maybe you just kind of want to come along for the adventure. And I hope you do. Have a very Merry Christmas holiday. There are 14, I learned there are 14 different holidays from the beginning of December, I think, to mid January. So, whatever you celebrate, or even if you don't celebrate, I hope you have a great time. And if you watch my Colombia video this Saturday, please leave a comment. I'll see you all very soon. Merry Christmas from our house. That's what we're celebrating. We're not religious, but Santa is coming. Bye, guys.